preview the games of the Champions League coming up this week. So we're going to do them all one at a time. And the first one I'm going to choose is Real Madrid versus Liverpool. So Mahir, what are your first initial thoughts on Real Madrid versus Liverpool coming up this week?
First thoughts on that match. I place Liverpool as favourites, only because of the injuries that Real Madrid have sustained at defence. I feel like Real Madrid they've had an indifferent season. They've been inconsistent. Liverpool have, by their standards, haven't been great. But if you look at form-wise, Liverpool, they're starting to pick up. And I feel the inclusion of Diogo Jota, that's a massive boost for Liverpool because he changes everything. For me, he's like a cross between Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. Like the way he plays, like when you watch him play, he doesn't do anything spectacular, as in he doesn't dribble past 2-3 players, but he goes in the box. He's got a good left foot. I feel like Real Madrid will miss Ramos a lot. He's everything to them. In terms of the midfield battle, I think Liverpool will overrun Madrid. I feel like Modric and Kroos, they've been great over the last decade, but I feel like when they come up against top opposition, I feel like because of their legs, I don't think they have it as much as they used to. When they're up against players like Thiago, or they could play at Naby Keita or Fabinho midfield, I don't think they'll cope with that midfield battle.
First things first, that midfield battle for me is the key for the game today. That midfield battle of Toni Kroos, Casemiro, and Luka Modric has been there and done that over a countless amount of times, and they've won the Champions League a countless amount of times under Zidane previously. But the fact that, like you said, they may not be the same as they have been in previous years. They haven't really got out of third gear in this year's Champions League against Inter Milan, Gladbach, Shakhtar, and who's the other one? Atlanta. It was Atlanta they played in the last knockout round.
Atlanta.
They didn't have to. They weren't challenged as much as they should have been because they had a red card in that game. Atlanta. They had a really good goal by Mendy that was conceded against Atlanta, and then when Benzema scored after a mistake from the goalkeeper, Modric assisted him. That was the tie over. They literally had nothing else to do in that game. But it's just the fact that Real Madrid are up against a really challenging Liverpool side, and Liverpool, as you said, they're up against anyone in the Champions League. They can take on anyone in the Champions League. Obviously, last year it was out to Atletico Madrid, but I am a big fan of Diogo Jota. I quite like him. I think he would make any Premier League team better if he was to go into that team. Man City, he could easily be part of Man United, of course, Arsenal, Tottenham, all of that. But the fact that he is a cross between Mane and Salah, I kind of agree with that, to be fair. He knows what he's good at. He's not going to be a flashy player. He's not going to be the one that's going to be trying to do things he can't do. He will get the goals. He'll get between the lines, and he'll drop in as well. He'll allow Mane and Salah to go through. And Salah and Mane have been free scoring in this year's Champions League as well. So I'm looking forward to a big game from Liverpool personally. But like I said, it's all down to that midfield battle because their defense against Karim Benzema, probably Asensio, maybe Rodrigo will start. I'm not too sure how they'll line up, but Hazard's not back yet. It's just the fact that Benzema has been there and done that over a number of years. It's a seasoned Real Madrid team, but I reckon they could actually they could pull off a result. But I don't think they'll pull off a result off at Anfield. But for me personally, I reckon Liverpool will win. I reckon they'll win at the Di Stefano training ground that they play at, not the Bernabeu in the Champions League. But it's like I said, if Liverpool's midfield can hold it together with Fabinho as a linchpin, allowing Thiago and Ronaldo to crack on and combat the likes of Kroos, Modric, maybe Valverde has to start as well. Maybe a midfield four, and then like Benzema and like Rodrigo up front as like two loose strikers. What would you think about that? A midfield four, would that combat?
I think you know what. I think that's a sensible option to do because I don't think Zidane will play. If you look at Liverpool's struggles, they struggled a lot against teams with a low block, especially at games at Anfield. So I just don't. I don't.
Especially Fulham, as well.
Yeah,
maybe that could be what Brighton as well with a five at the back. Maybe we don't know how he's going to set up.
The thing is with Zidane, is he that type of manager that will, for 90 minutes, play in that system? Like, would the players that he has? He might only because because Varane and Sergio Ramos are out. Maybe he'll tend to play that way because maybe he doesn't trust this defense because of those two missing. He will probably play a bit more deeper than he probably should have done, and then that makes it you know, maybe a bit more trickier for Liverpool to break down. But I just feel like, yeah, the midfield, man, it's like when you compare Liverpool's midfield, which has legs, compared to Cruz and Modric and Casemiro, who are great players, I just don't think they will cope with that. One thing is the matchup between Benzema and their centre backs. I think they'll probably play Nathaniel Phillips and Kabak, because them two have been playing consistently for the last few games together.
The fact that Benzema is literally the guy who's been there and done that against any type of quality.
Yeah.
If you get the ball to Benzema between those two, I reckon he'll score 1 or 2. But it's just the fact that, can Liverpool's midfield break down Real Madrid's midfield before it actually gets the carry?
So Nathaniel Phillips and Kabak, they're very inexperienced. I just don't think they might. It just depends on the system, but I feel like they'll. It will be interesting to see Benzema up against two novices like that, because that's something that will be interesting. In terms of the substitutes and people can change the game, I feel like Liverpool's bench isn't. I don't know who they'll bring on. I mean, they got Origi, but he's not really it. Huh?
They've got Firmino, Origi on the bench as well.
Firmino, yeah, I'd say Firmino. He might change the game, but he doesn't really score. But then he creates. He makes space a lot.
Yeah.
But you got players like Shaqiri, who hasn't really done it this season off the bench. Origi hasn't really done it off the bench. Oxlade-Chamberlain's had his injuries. He hasn't done it off the bench this season. So I don't think they have any. But then I look at Real Madrid's.
They've got Asensio on the bench, Vasquez on the bench. Vasquez might start,
right? Isco made a rare start the other day against Eibar, but I don't think he will play.
He did really well in that game. I saw the highlights.
I just feel like because it was against Eibar and they had the Liverpool game, I just don't think Isco will play that much. But yeah, I just make Liverpool favourites really, because. And then the thing with Liverpool is, like, away from like the tactics and formations, I feel like Champions League is where Liverpool, like, you could go back to 2005, like Liverpool were struggling for top 4 and they went on to win it. The game against Barcelona where they came back, I mean, they always have it in them. It's like certain clubs have like this, like you got Arsenal with the FA Cup, Man City with the League Cup, Champions League, it's always Liverpool. They always pull it out of the bag, and I feel like they'll go all the way personally. I think they'll beat Madrid over 2 legs.
I think Liverpool will win again today. It's all about that key battle for me with the defence of Liverpool. If they can combat Karim Benzema, personally, I don't think they will, but their attack can combat the likes of Militao, Nacho, Mendy plays as a third centre-back, or Marcelo if he plays as a third centre-back as well. And I reckon that could be something that Liverpool can exploit in this first leg, and I reckon they could actually get a 3-1 win. That's how I predict the game for Liverpool versus Real Madrid. A 3-1 win for Liverpool. Jota, Mane, Salah starting. It's going to be a big midfield battle, like I said, and it's just making sure that Phillips and Kabak can keep Benzema at bay, just keep him away. But it's like you said personally, no Ramos, no Varane. Liverpool should have a field day. They really shouldn't, with their style of play, falter against this Real Madrid side. But yeah, it's 3-1 for me for Liverpool. That's what I predict. What would you predict, Mark?
I'll predict 1-0 Liverpool win, Anfield.
1-0 Liverpool win at Anfield. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that was our little mini preview of the Liverpool versus Real Madrid game on Tuesday night this week. Let us know what you think below, and hopefully it's a good game.